I know, right? I know. Why am I selling this camera? Why? It's $1,300. For $1,300, you're getting RAW and ProRes and some really beautiful images. It has arguably the best interface, a 5-inch touchscreen, pretty simple to operate. The buttons are laid out really nicely. So why am I selling this camera? Well, partly because I have this camera. This is the GH5S. And partly because I have this camera. This is the zcam E2. And I also have that camera, which is a GH5. So why the GH5S? Well, the GH5S and the GH5 actually both have pretty good autofocus, continuous autofocus. This camera doesn't have any continuous autofocus. It does have autofocus, but it doesn't work very well. Still, this is arguably a better camera than these ones. You know, you could argue that point. But it doesn't do what this camera can do, which is 4K 120. And to me, that's kind of a big deal, because that means I can take my footage and slow it down to 25% and get some real buttery smooth motion. And I'm not interpreting frames between actual frames. You know, you could use DaVinci Resolve's motion retime settings to get some pretty smooth slow motion beyond frame for frame, but it's not the same thing. And the 4K 120 out of the E2 is really, really nice. The form factor of the E2 and even the GH5 series, I like better than the form factor on the Blackmagic. This is okay if you're gonna run out like this, doing a run and gun, holding it like this, like a standard stills camera. But if you want to put it on a shoulder rig or a gimbal, it's awkward. It's really wide. It has the plastic body, and even though there's a 1/4 thread on the top here, if you look in the manual, it says don't put a lot of weight on this. I don't think they even want you to suspend the camera from this. So it's really not much good, whereas the E2 has 3/4 20s on the left side and the right side, and one on the top, and it's really easy to put a cage around this, and you get a solid mounting camera, and it's still compact. This will fit on a gimbal, on a shoulder rig. You can power it externally, and look how narrow it is. It's just a nice compact cube. Plus, this looks like a production camera, whereas this looks kind of like a toy. It has the plastic sound, even though it's a durable body. It looks and feels plasticky, and honestly, this doesn't at all. This looks serious. It's got some LEMO connectors on the back, and it just looks like a professional tool. Actually, had some people ask me, are you shooting on red? I'm like, no, this is a zcam E2. They're like, oh. So that's a good thing in my book. Another reason I'm not keeping this camera is the file sizes. Now, RAW and ProRes are great. They have a great range of editing capabilities. You know, you can do a lot with them, but they're about 10 times the size of files off of either one of these two. This is mostly H.265, this is H.264. They're compressed codecs. They're much, much, much smaller in file size. Now, this edits great. Both the RAW and the ProRes edit great on my computer, whereas these not so much. But, you know, for a lot of people, that makes a big difference, and it definitely does fill up hard drives. So even though this produces some lovely images, at the end of the day, I just don't need it. And honestly, I could use the money more than I could use this camera. So I'm going to keep shooting on this one. I'm probably going to keep using this one a little bit, and I'll probably even keep the GH5 for a while. So this is going up on eBay, and I think somebody's going to be happy because these are hard to get right now. It's a hot item. It's a popular camera, and for good reason. So if you like this video, please hit that subscribe button and hit the little notification icon, and then you'll know when I post my next video. I'll see you then.